I think that Germany has shifted its position on Nord Stream 2 already. I think there's a very strong unity and resolve in the Western camp between the US, EU, Germany, France, UK on this. And while Scholz might have not mentioned Nord Stream 2 in public, I think it's very clear that Nord Stream 2 is on the table when we talk about these tough sanctions, energy sanctions, financial sanctions, technology sanctions.
Even if Olaf Scholz is implicitly on board with potentially using Nord Stream 2, it does seem pretty clear that the U.S. has really been the strongest here when it comes to the West's reaction to what's happening at the border, even though the EU is geographically and economically closer to Russia and closer to Ukraine. What do you make of that and the role that the U.S. has taken in this matter?
I think it's a pretty natural role to play. The US is obviously the leader nation within NATO with its strongest military might, that's no doubt. And I also think it's tactically pretty smart to have Biden take up a high-level conversation with Putin, because at the end of the day, that's one of the aspirations Putin has, to look eye to eye with the United States. Putin doesn't take international organizations so serious like the OECD or the EU. He likes to talk bilaterally. He likes to be in the limelight. He likes Macron visiting him. He appreciates Scholz visiting him, sees Germany as a key player in Europe. And the big prize is, of course, the United States. And after Barack Obama called him a regional power, I think that he never wanted to be called that again. And I think it's a success for Putin already that he's now talking to heads of states and government on a very frequent basis, that we've seen this diplomatic, this shuttle diplomacy in and out of Moscow, with Macron having been there, now Scholz coming, Biden on the phone on a regular basis. So that's already a success for Putin, and why not give it to him?
Friedrich, to most Western observers, this crisis has been triggered by Russia moving its forces very close to the Ukrainian border. But I know you co-authored a piece back in 2016 arguing that actually NATO needs to change its shape and structure and potentially also take a different name that would suggest maybe that it is not the same Cold War organization that was set up to resist any attack from the East. Do you think that, in any sense, President Putin has legitimate gripe with the structure of NATO at this point and the aspiration of Ukraine to join it?
No, I don't think that at all. I think that it's very clear who's the aggressor here. Russia has amassed 100,000 troops at the border of the Ukraine. Russia is conducting a war since 2014 in southwest Ukraine, and Russia has illegally occupied Crimea. So I don't think there can be any doubt who's the aggressor here and who is the defender. I think that NATO has never been set up to be an aggressive organization at all. I think that the clear signal has been since 1997, since the NATO-Russia Founding Act, that there is no intention to launch any aggression towards Russia. And I don't really think that Putin is afraid of NATO at all. I think this is a tactical stance. I think it's an old legend that we promised never to expand, or Germany promised never to expand towards Eastern Europe. I think that is all used by Putin as a pretext, as attacks on Russian minorities in the Ukraine is used as a pretext, or has been used in 2014 and could well be used again.
So, in your opinion, even if Ukraine were to drop its stated aspiration to join NATO, that would not de-escalate the situation at the moment?
If NATO would decide to declare anything official that Ukraine or other countries, we also talk about Sweden and Finland, that Putin wants to be guaranteed not to enter NATO, that would undermine the credibility of the West to a large degree. On the other hand, I think we can be a bit more relaxed from a Moscow perspective when I look to NATO expansion, because the status quo that we have since 2018, since Georgia and the Ukraine last time discussed to join NATO, is a de facto moratorium. There is no discussion on the table that Ukraine is going to join NATO. I think that Putin is just worsening the situation himself. So he creates a dilemma that hasn't been there before. there hasn't been no attention by NATO to do any military aggression towards Russia. That's not in the DNA of NATO, and that there's no interest in anywhere in Europe, and definitely not in the United States, in my view, to have a military escalation anywhere in Eastern Europe.